Honda says the money will go towards building internal combustion engines, hybrid electric vehicles, and battery electric vehicles on the same line.
When the world raced toward all-electric cars, few expected Honda to shake the industry with an engine that feels like the future without being fully electric. Yet, in 2025, Honda unveiled a hybrid system so advanced that experts say it could stall the EV revolution. No charging hassles, no battery anxiety, and performance strong enough to rival both petrol cars and EVs. Honda's hyper-hybrid claims to deliver it all. But is this the innovation that will keep millions from switching to electric? Today, we uncover Honda's new hybrid engine, its secret technology, and why Tesla and BYD should be paying attention. From Soichiro's dream to a global giant, every revolution starts with a dreamer. And for Honda, that dreamer was Soichiro Honda. Born in 1906 to a poor blacksmith's family in Japan, Soichiro wasn't destined for comfort or privilege. He was destined for grease-stained hands, broken machines, and relentless trial and error. From an early age, he showed a fascination for the smell of oil and the sound of engines, sneaking into garages and skipping classes just to watch mechanics at work. He wasn't the type to sit still in a classroom, he wanted to build. His first attempts at engineering were anything but glorious. He started out making piston rings, only to face failure after failure. Factories rejected his designs, investors turned him away, and at one point, his small workshop was even destroyed by bombs during World War II. Any ordinary man might have quit, but Soichiro Honda wasn't ordinary. With scrap materials and an iron will, he rebuilt, often working through the night. When the war left Japan in ruins, he saw opportunity where others saw despair. He began attaching surplus motors to bicycles, creating cheap and efficient transport for a struggling population. That small idea was the spark that gave birth to Honda Motor Company. From there, the company's rise was meteoric. In 1958, Honda unveiled the Super Cub, a small, sturdy, and affordable motorcycle. It wasn't glamorous, but it was exactly what people needed. The Super Cub became a worldwide phenomenon, selling over 100 million units and becoming one of the most successful motor vehicles in history. Suddenly, Honda wasn't just a Japanese manufacturer, it was a global brand. The world began to associate the name Honda with reliability, affordability, and innovation that served the masses. The 1960s were the period through which Honda entered the automobile market. When its competitors made cars that were designed for the elite, Honda was envisioning vehicles that were practical, fuel-efficient, and affordable for the average family. In 1972, the Honda Civic was born, which rapidly became the people's car. Economical to run, easy to maintain, and a model of precision, it brought something new to the middle classes around the world. By the late 1970s, not only were the Civic and later the Accord Japanese exports, but they also came to be known and loved with great frequency in America, Europe, and elsewhere. What separated Honda was not simply its engineering brilliance, it was the company's philosophy. Soichiro believed machines should serve man, not intimidate him. Honda cars were not built to merely dazzle showroom visitors. They were made to endure, to sip rather than gulp fuel, and to give the average person confidence. It was technology not for the few, but for the many. That spirit was why names like Honda City and Activa came to symbolize trust, not only in Japan, but also across such distant markets as India. Honda showed itself as versatile in its decades-old history, innovating hybrid technology long before it became fashionable, exploring hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, and even creating humanoid robots like Asimo. While many of their competitors jostled with a rapid pace, joining the electric vehicle bandwagon, Honda maintained silence, simply watching, learning, and preparing. Critics say they are slow, but Honda had a different perspective. Why rush into the race if the track isn't ready? And here it is, the moment of patience and measure. From the dust of the war to the glory of the Civic, Honda has built a reputation for practicality and resilience as well as trust. It is not surprising, therefore, that when such a company launches a new technology, the world pays attention. And this time, What Honda has unveiled isn't just another engine. It's a hyper-hybrid system so advanced, it might force the entire EV industry to rethink everything it thought it had already won. The hyper-hybrid. Revealed at 10, Honda finally stepped onto the stage with its latest creation. It wasn't just another hybrid. The company called it a hyper-hybrid, and the auto world quickly realized this was not marketing fluff. This was Honda's boldest move in years, a rethinking of what a hybrid engine could be in an age obsessed with EVs. At the heart of this new system is a 2.0-litre Atkinson cycle petrol engine, working hand-in-hand with two electric motors. But here's where the magic happens. Instead of one motor struggling to balance performance and charging duties, Honda split the tasks. One motor drives the car, delivering instant torque and smooth acceleration, while the other is dedicated solely to keeping the battery charged. That separation means the system doesn't overload itself, and the car feels seamless, whether crawling in city traffic or overtaking at highway speeds. Traditional hybrids often force the driver into compromises. Switch to petrol for power, switch to electric for efficiency. Honda's hyper-hybrid erases those choices. The petrol engine and electric motors operate like a perfectly conducted orchestra, stepping in and out at exactly the right times. Most of the time, you're gliding silently on the electric motor, but when you need raw muscle, climbing a hill, merging onto a freeway, or pushing past 100 kilometers per hour, the petrol engine joins in. Together, they produce a solid 184 horsepower, enough to handle highways without breaking a sweat while still delivering city smoothness. From where it began to drop jaws, fuel efficiency goes between 20 and 28 kilometers per litre in real-life scenarios, and not in the lab. Diesel-like mileage in a petrol hybrid, without the hassle attached to charging and getting to a charging station, is possible. While the EV owners compute the cost of charging and worry about range anxiety, Honda continues the run. The battery charges itself as you drive on both the secondary motor and Honda's advanced regenerative braking system, which collects more energy from stopping than older hybrids have ever been able to do so. And now, it's driving comfort. One real big thing you understand when you enter this hyper-hybrid is the absolute silence. Honda has developed a highly refined noise management mechanism. So when you start the petrol engine, it does not roar. Instead, it hums with a soft, almost musical tone. In city traffic, it feels like an EV, quiet, clean, and calm. On highways, it sounds like a strong petrol car. The switch of modes is invisible to the driver. You don't press buttons or fiddle with settings. The car itself decides when to use electricity, petrol, or both. But Honda has not stopped at the engine. Vehicles built around this system, like the newest Accord hybrid, have been designed with lightweight aerodynamics. This shape makes the cars sleeker and cuts down drag, which means that every drop of fuel goes further. Paired with the hyper-hybrid system, this makes a fun-to-drive vehicle with all new models of Honda, not just efficient, but fun to drive, something that has easily sacrificed the sense of having batteries when it comes to driving ranges. Perhaps the most shocking part, however, is the audience for which Honda targets this technology. This is not niche technology for the rich elite. The hyper-hybrid is built for the masses. Be liked by those people who would have wanted EV-level efficiency, but would not be able to afford a Tesla, are skeptical of BYD, or have no infrastructure for charging in their homes. Wherever the country still makes charging networks a dream, that would be where Honda's system becomes the practical choice. Yet, the brilliance of Honda's hyper-hybrid isn't just what it offers, it's what it eliminates. Because when you compare it to pure EVs, it solves the three weaknesses that have haunted electric cars from the very beginning. EV weaknesses. Exposed for years, the electric vehicle industry has promised a clean, futuristic alternative to the gas-powered car. Companies like Tesla and BYD marketed EVs as not just machines, but as symbols of progress, silent, sleek, and eco-friendly. Yet beneath the hype, everyday drivers continued to face the same frustrating issues: charging times that drag on, batteries that degrade too quickly, and performance that collapses in the cold. These three weaknesses have always been the Achilles heel of EVs. And now, Honda claims it has solved every single one with its hyper-hybrid. Let's start with the charging dilemma. Imagine being late for work or needing to make a long trip, only to find your EV battery nearly drained. Even with today's fastest chargers, you're looking at 30 minutes to an hour of downtime. With a slower charger, it can take an entire night. This isn't just inconvenient, it's impractical for millions of people who live in apartments, crowded cities, or rural areas where home charging stations aren't possible. Honda's hyper-hybrid turns this problem into a non-issue. The battery charges automatically while you drive, powered by the second motor and enhanced regenerative braking. The car simply charges itself in motion, meaning no range anxiety, no wasted time, and no reliance on fragile charging infrastructure. Then comes the problem concerning deficits in battery life. By now, any EV owner would know that lithium-ion batteries will degrade over time. With every charging and discharging cycle, capacity will shrink. After 3 to 4 years, many EVs can no longer give you the range that the car was promising when it was new. Indeed, getting a battery change is a nightmare, costing you thousands of dollars, sometimes even half the price of the car itself. Honda's hyper-hybrid takes a different approach. Stress is not laid upon the batteries, since the petrol engine shares some of the workload. In effect, one motor is responsible for driving while the other charges, thus ensuring even wear. Let's add yet another curse for cold weather conditions. Those who have driven electric vehicles in the winter know the agony. Batteries hate cold temperatures. Range certainly can decline anywhere from 30 to 40%, which turns a 300-kilometer EV into a liability that only provides a range of 180 kilometers. Suddenly, road trips have become dangerous games of chance. Drivers sitting there will find themselves stranded with a dead battery in a freezing environment. Honda's hyper-hybrid system laughs into the face of snow and ice. When cold weather takes a toll on battery performance, the petrol engine smoothly cuts in. Those three weaknesses in charging, battery degradation, and cold weather range are substantial obstacles to EV adoption. Thus, millions of consumers are rather reluctant to buy an electric car despite the pressures put forth by the government. That was something Honda noticed, and it was something Honda changed. It created a self-sustainable hybrid system with which it effectively positioned itself as the first real challenger to EV dominance. And here is where Honda's hyper-hybrid may hit Tesla, BYD, and the entire EV industry the hardest, by delivering a cheaper, smarter, and easier to maintain alternative that could win the masses. Cost, maintenance, and mass market appeal when it comes to cars, technology matters, but price decides. That's the reality of the auto industry. Most buyers won't pay for futuristic promises if the vehicle is out of reach. This is where EVs, despite all their hype, have stumbled. In the US, a good electric car costs $30,000 to $60,000, and international markets see even higher prices once taxes are added. In India, even entry-level EVs sit far beyond the average household budget. Honda's hyper-hybrid system changes that equation. The Accord Hybrid and Civic Hybrid already come in cheaper than many EVs in their class, while offering equal or better efficiency. Families get EV-level mileage and smoothness without draining their savings. In cost-conscious markets like India, where the first question is always "Kitna deti hai?" or "How much mileage does it give?" This becomes a winning pitch. Buyers get fuel savings comparable to diesel cars, the quietness of an EV, but without the hefty upfront cost. Public fast charging isn't free. It costs a lot of money quickly. With this, Honda does away with it completely. The hyper-hybrid does not need any external charging at all, as it recharges its system all by itself to save owners money and time. No stations, no wiring upgrades, no waiting. That is really the biggest cost looming over EV ownership: battery replacement. Lithium-ion packs are highly expensive, $4,000 to $10,000. depending on the model, with high-end replacements worth nearly half the value of the car itself. That really terrifies many potential buyers. Home installation charges could be considered, even though charging might be the invisible ongoing cost. The cost of installing an at-home charging unit ranges from $500 to $1,000 in the US and up to 100,000 rupees in India. Well, public fast charging isn't free either, and these costs can quickly add up. None of this is necessary with Honda. The Hyper-Hybrid doesn't require external charging. Its system recharges itself, ensuring time and cost savings for owners, no stations, no wiring upgrades, no waiting. Another vital aspect is maintenance. Electric vehicles are marketed as being low maintenance, and when the upside-down time comes, the maintenance costs go into the stratosphere. Specialized service shops are rare, and parts are exorbitantly priced. Honda builds on its reputation for orienting itself toward affordable reliability. The Hyper-Hybrid features the petrol engine, but in a simplified form that reduces servicing needs. Also, when maintenance is required, Honda's international service network sees to it that parts are made available and are inexpensive enough to keep. A new self-diagnosis feature warns the driver about impending issues before these are even felt at the workshop, thus bringing time and cost savings. The Hyper-Hybrid by Honda is certainly not for the affluent or these niche offerings. It caters to the mass market for millions who cannot afford EVs, do not have charging stations, or simply want a reliable, affordable car. In trying to make a proposition for low cost, convenience, and maintenance, Honda has made something that has families' faith wherever one lives. And Honda isn't keeping this technology confined to one corner of the world. It has a carefully mapped global strategy to bring its Hyper-Hybrid system to every major market, from Japan to the US, Europe, and India. Honda's global strategy. With the Hyper-Hybrid system ready for launch, the big question is where Honda will take it first. Historically cautious with global rollouts, the company prefers to test new technology at home before going international. This time is no different, though the stakes are higher. Honda views its Hyper-Hybrid not just as another engine, but as a potential disruptor, and it has mapped a deliberate region-specific strategy. The story begins in Japan, Honda's innovation hub and natural starting point. Drivers there are already comfortable with hybrids, thanks to Toyota's Prius and Honda's lineup. By debuting the Hyper-Hybrid in models like the Accord and Civic, the company can gauge reactions in a market that prizes efficiency and reliability. Early feedback has been strong, with consumers viewing the technology as a genuine leap forward, especially because it eliminates charging. Next comes the United States, still the world's largest auto market. While EV sales are rising, many buyers remain hesitant due to charging infrastructure and range limitations. Hybrids have a proven track record in America. The Prius once dominated the roads, and Honda believes the timing is ideal for a second hybrid wave. The Accord Hybrid has already launched to positive reviews, while the CR-V Hybrid is aimed at the SUV-loving segment. By 2025, Honda plans to expand Hyper-Hybrid offerings aggressively across US dealerships, targeting buyers who want green technology without the compromises of full electrification. There is much more to Europe. Due to stringent emissions regulations and government incentives, electric vehicles have received almost all the support, while in regions of lesser affinity, infrastructure remains scanty. The Honda Hyper-Hybrid was engineered according to EU standards and thus may serve as a viable option in the carpool for those who seek environmentally friendly vehicles without too much hassle in terms of charging. It does not seek to directly compete with Tesla in the rich urban centers, but rather to capture the southern and eastern European regions where hybrids are still more practical and cheaper. Hyper-Hybrids are expected to enter these markets by 2025. Maybe the biggest opportunity will be in the long run in India, where the adoption of EVs has been rather slow, mainly due to pricing and a limited number of charging points. These efficient hybrids, however, represent a near-perfect fit. Honda has already done trials on the City Hybrid and plans to bring in both the Accord and new SUV models based on hyper-hybrid tech. Excellent fuel efficiency, reduced maintenance, and no charging requirements mean this system seems made for the Indian buyer. Price will be the crucial issue, and Honda seems geared toward localizing production to be able to keep costs competitive. Localization is itself a strategy for Honda. Instead of exporting cars from Japan, the company will expand manufacturing in key markets such as the US, India, and Southeast Asia. This spares the firm from import taxes, cuts production costs, and enables faster responses to local regulations. Strong after-sales support and timely access to replacement parts also build consumer trust. Honda's plans are cautious but ambitious. Test in Japan, expand into the US, adapt to Europe, capture emerging markets such as India. Yet, this is not merely introducing a new engine, but primarily lays the groundwork for a global hybrid resurgence. Even as questions are being raised about the future of pure EVs more than ever, Honda has struck at the heart of the EV industry, fixing the flaws of charging, cost, and cold weather weakness in one bold move. If Tesla and BYD built the future around batteries, Honda may have just reminded the world that balance, not extremes, wins the race. For more deep dives into the tech battles shaping our future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the next video on screen.